Hey now, we're live here on a Monday following Monday Night Raw, sharing our thoughts, our questions, everything and in between here on another edition of the J Area Wrestling Show. My name is Jose Ramos Jr., welcoming you back here onto the stream. If you're new to this stream, I just did a little intro. My name's Jose. We talk professional wrestling. We're professional wrestling fans for a professional wrestling YouTube channel, welcoming all fans, whether it is old, new, all indifferent. Glad to have you here following Monday Night Raw on another live stream here. A lot to talk about, a lot to digest on today's stream. Of course, I'm going to give people an opportunity here to join us live on YouTube, to join in on the discussion. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so in order to take part in these discussions. In order to be a part of the chat here on YouTube, you have to be a subscriber. And as you can see, the J area has been growing over the course of this last year. We are now vastly approaching 9,000 subs here on YouTube. That is a huge testament to the goodwill that all of you have, not only in regards to the channel, but in regards to professional wrestling. When we set out to make this channel, we wanted to make it the biggest, the brightest pro wrestling channel, the most positive pro wrestling channel there is on YouTube, and I think we're doing just that. I see already some friends here in the chat. I want to give a huge shout out here to LJ for joining us here in the chat. You have to forgive me, I don't have the best eyesight, but here in the chat they say, guess who gets to make it? I'm back, y'all. Can you dig it, sucker? Welcome back to the chat. Glad you can join us here on today's stream. Already jumping into it and saying, let's light it up tonight. I love it. AJ Lee obviously made her big return on Friday Night SmackDown. We're going to talk about that in depth and in detail a little bit later in the stream, but I love the excitement, love the anticipation. I'm sorry to hear that you're not feeling the best, saying that you're feeling a little bit sick today. Hopefully you rest up, you recuperate, and you're back to full strength pretty soon, LJ. But I'm glad you were able to make it. Muhammad is in the chat as well. I see it just popped up saying, hello, happy Monday on a Monday night. Hope you're doing well, my friend. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're sharing this space with us here on YouTube to talk about professional wrestling, to talk about Monday Night Raw. Love seeing all the new faces. Love seeing all the familiar faces. You guys are what drives this live stream. You guys are what drives this channel. It would not be what it is today without all of you. I see Reese in the chat as well. What's going on? Says, what's up? Well, said nothing much. Reese just finishing up Monday Night Raw. Have a couple of topics that I wanted to talk about here on Monday Night Raw. There was a lot to talk about for the average show. I will say, for this episode of Monday Night Raw, there was a lot of good. I think there was some filler, but overall, it got me thinking. It got me asking questions, and that is always a good thing. When you're able to interact with the program, when you're able to have in-depth conversations about the program, that means something. Because there's one thing about apathy. Apathy meaning that you have no feeling towards it. You're indifferent. That's not the case here with pro wrestling. There's always something to feel, whether you're angry, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, excited. I think we can all agree that pro wrestling is one of those forms of entertainment that allows us to truly feel a set of emotions here. I do want to talk about, of course, the first thing on topic would be the last thing that we saw on Monday Night Raw. The main event, of course, saw LA Knight versus Big Bronson Reed. Another episode of Monday Night Raw that happens to end with division. I mean, that's part of the course. The WWE in the last couple of years have been very heavy on the factions. Me, I'm totally fine with that. I love faction warfare. It was something that I really enjoyed about in the Attitude Era. I feel like factions, stables, groups is a natural part of wrestling. In real life, we all have our friend groups. We all have our little cliques. We all have our little tribes that we associate with. So why would that not be the case in professional wrestling? I've seen some places on the internet that say, it's overabundant. It's getting excessive. It's a little superfluous. All the amounts of factions that are included on the WWE, but to me that's totally fine as long as they have a sense of direction. The vision right now that includes Seth Rollins, apparently now Becky Lynch, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and the now injured, out of action Paul Heyman. They're kind of in this flux of a moment with their group. We all saw, the men, Seth, the Bronson and Braun Reed connection, Paul Heyman, all together, but now it kind of seems that they're both on their own little side quest here. Obviously, Seth Rollins and his wife Becky Lynch have their own issues at hand. Again, we'll get to that in a second. But Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker have their hands full with the Usos. Jimmy, Jay, two of, if not one of the best tag teams of all time. Jimmy and Jay, whether you want to argue about the validity of their singles run, when these two come together as a tag team, they are second to none. The excitement, the hype, the athleticism, the legacy that is associated with Jimmy and Jay cannot be denied. And to see them back together after what we've seen over the last couple of years, Jimmy and Jay went their separate ways. Of course, WrestleMania 40 kind of left a sour taste in our mouth when it came to their singles matchup. But now, seeing them back together, rejuvenated, really gets me going, because I love seeing a couple of brothers get together, especially beating on some Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. But what I really found interesting is the advancement in the story that is Main Event Jey Uso. Main Event Jey Uso, earlier this year, wind the clock back, February 1st, it was the Royal Rumble, Indianapolis, Indiana. He wins the Royal Rumble event, catapulting himself into the main event scene, getting a championship opportunity at WrestleMania. People were firmly behind Jay, but upon winning the Royal Rumble, it seemed that the majority of the crowd, at least online, was beginning to grow tiresome of Jey Uso. Now, for those in attendance in the arenas, watching the show from the comfort of their sofa, that would not be the case. A lot of times, it seemed that what was being said on the internet was the minority. But over the course of that title run, Jey Uso wins the World Championship, by the way, as if you didn't already know that. If you're here joining us in the Jay area, you probably already knew that. But the fact is, over the course of that championship run, he was criticized, again, by the online community. And that his moveset wasn't as good as it should have been. That his matches were not up to par as a world champion. That he was hand-picked. That he was nothing more than a catchphrase. 4 letters, 1 word, you know the rest. And so it begged the question, where do we go from here upon him losing that world championship? He would lose the world title to the same man that he defeated, Gunther. And since then, he's been on this quest of rediscovering who he is. He's no longer the world champion. He no longer has the bloodline, but he clamors for the gold that he once held earlier this year. Of course, Seth Rollins, The Vision, have gotten in the way of that. Who else has gotten in the way with it? LA Knight, who again has become fixated on Seth Rollins, who had to feign that injury at Saturday night's main event. So they now have crossed paths and are bumping heads. And we saw that earlier tonight. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso as well, got into a little bit of a scuffle with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and out comes LA Knight. Shout out to you if you said yeah. And it got physical. Jey Uso, of course, gets caught in the middle. LA Knight nearly collides with him. And Bronson Reed tries to collide with LA Knight, but like the sixth sense that he has, little spider sense there, moves out of the way, and instead Bronson Reed splashes onto Jey Uso. Now he has a little bit of pent-up frustration, a little bit of bad blood towards LA Knight, sticking his nose in his business where he thinks that it shouldn't be. So throughout the course of the night, Jimmy talks to Jay saying, hey, LA Knight got a match tonight against Reed. We should be there. We should help him out. And Jay immediately like, why? Why should we help him out? He's not blood. He's not family. He's in the way. Jey Uso has his eyes on the prize. He's going to handle business, of course, with Jimmy. Because at WrestlePalooza, it will be the Usos versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Looking forward to that. But he has his eyes on the prize. He wants to regain that world championship. He wants to reclaim that main event spot that is the name associated with Jey Uso. Jimmy says, hey, you're not looking like yourself. You're not sounding like Jey Uso. You sound like Roman. And the crowd, upon hearing that, ooh, immediately, the crowd becomes hushed. Because we think back, way back when, about 5 years ago, really, when Jey Uso and Roman Reigns We're battling over the Universal Championship in the fall of 2020, the infancy of the Bloodline. The early story of the Bloodline was Jay versus Roman. How Roman had become so obsessed with the world champion, becoming the tribal chief, maintaining his seat at the head of the table. And now, with Jey Uso having tasted a little bit of the glory that is the World's Heavyweight Championship, he needs it. He needs it bad. Although this is the side quest that he's on right now with his brother Jimmy, he recognizes that after this, his eyes are set at the top of the division, and that's Seth Rollins, the World's Heavyweight Champion. Jey Uso, subconsciously, maybe not even realizing it, carrying a little bit of residue of that whole Roman Reigns era of the Bloodline. You learn from those before you. He learns from Roman Reigns. Again, whether he likes to admit it or not, Jey Uso could be on the path of Roman Reigns. Now, that could be interpreted as the one of two things. That could be one, the greatness that is Roman Reigns, the OTC, the face of a generation, essentially. Or down a dark path to where he would become isolated. Roman Reigns, at one point, was on top of the world, flanked by the Usos, Solo Sikoa, the Wise Man, hell, even Sami Zayn there for a bit. And one by one, they began to leave his side because he lost sight on family. He became obsessed with championships. Could that be the case with Jey Uso? People have been clamoring for something fresh with Jey Uso. They got tired of hearing the yeet. But now we see Jey Uso and a little bit of an edge, because following the matchup between LA Knight and Bronson Reed, of course the natural schmaz happens, the breakdown. Jimmy gets involved, Braun Breaker gets involved, until finally Jay gets involved, seemingly making the save for LA Knight. But at the end of the night, he spears LA. And again, proving to his brother that he's not with us. We have no allegiance to him. We have no loyalty towards him. And now, essentially saying, now we're even, based off of what happened earlier in the night. I like the little bit of edge that I'm seeing from Jay. Again, it adds another layer to the story. That is Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso. I don't know if he's going to turn completely heel. I don't see that being the case. He's far too over. But I like the little nuance there. So I appreciate that with the story of Jey Uso. I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses going into and coming out of WrestlePalooza. Let's take a look at the chat here real quick. LJ says, I hit 31 subs. Congrats, buddy. Little by little, brick by brick, I'm glad to see that you're making your own goals and creating your own journey there. So awesome. Robert back in the chat says, why are we having to watch another Nikki Bella match? Well, Nikki Bella, is a big part of the women's revolution. I don't think she was the part, but she was a part. Her match against Asuka, I didn't think was terrible. I'm actually happy that Asuka went over. But of course, they're going to be pushing Nikki Bella. I'll see where they go with it, though. It looks like her and maybe Rhea versus Kyrie and Asuka at some point. That's kind of what they teased here. Tyler in the chat. Tyler says JCW versus GCW in War Games in October. I can't wait to see that match. I got to look into it, man. I'm not really caught up to date with GCW. Shout out to LJ there. LJ, thank you for stopping by on the stream. Glad you were able to make it, at least for this early of the stream. Hopefully you enjoyed the show tonight. That was Monday Night Raw. We look forward to seeing you on the next stream. Hope you have a good night, buddy. Glad to see you. Tyler back says, I think the WWE dropped the ball on Roman Reigns a little bit. I want to see Roman versus Seth. Then I want to see Roman Reigns win the championship title again. I totally agree with you. I want to see Roman versus Seth, but that could be held off until WrestleMania 42. That's a big marquee matchup. That's not a matchup that we should see at a WrestlePalooza or at a Fastlane or any type of B level PLE. That's a matchup reserved for WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. Maybe a Royal Rumble, but more likely a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania. I would love to see that. As for Roman winning the championship, I don't think we need to see it. He won the title, held the championship for 1,316 days, solidifying himself as the great modern champion in WWE. And he's gotten to a point here where I don't think he needs the championship. The biggest thing about WWE right now, and TKO for that matter, is making money. Great business. When you look at it from this perspective, Roman doesn't need that championship anymore, nor does the championship need Roman. If you put Roman into the championship title scene, that's great. Don't get me wrong, it's Roman Reigns, the championship title match, that's huge. But if you were to separate the two, have Roman Reigns off doing his own side quest, and have the championship doing its own thing as well, you now have created not one but two special attractions for a PLE. And if I'm the WWE, if I'm TKO, and I want to bring in eyes to this ESPN new streaming service, and you want to bring eyes to the PLE, why condense it to just one matchup when you can have two? A huge championship title match, and Roman Reigns, who name value alone will attract people to the show. I don't think Roman needs a title. In fact, I think Roman can go the rest of his career not winning the championship because he had such a great title reign over the course of those 1,300 plus days. But will that be the case? We have to wait and see. Obviously, he'll get back into the title scene at some point. Is he going to win the championship? Maybe, but I don't envision it being anytime soon. He just held that championship for over 1,300 days. I think they're going to want to hold off on that. If it were to happen, though, it would be a huge deal. LJ says, you too in chat, like, subscribe for more WWE content from Jose. I appreciate that, LJ. Listen to LJ. They know what they're talking about. Subscribe to the channel. Keep up to date with all things pro wrestling. Join in on the chat. The only way you can participate in the stream is by subscribing to the channel. So I love the endorsement. Appreciate you, buddy. Tyler says, I think Kenny Omega and Roman Reigns equals Roman Reigns as part-time. Kenny Omega, ever since making that return following the battle with diverticulitis, he has kind of taken a little bit of a back seat. I don't think, again, he needs the championship per se, just like Roman Reigns, but you can see the similarities of, like, it's one and done. I will say I think Kenny appears more often than Roman Reigns and certainly competes more than Roman Reigns, but when you are the caliber of a Roman Reigns or a Kenny Omega, I think you've kind of earned that right. Those guys over the last decade have provided great matches, great moments, great memories, and have certainly proven why they are the top draws in their respective companies. Is it fair to the fans that have to wait for these part-time schedules? I mean, that's debatable, but at the end of the day, I look at it from the perspective of when they do arrive, we have to appreciate and we have to enjoy it while we can, because their appearances are too far in between, for that matter. Next up on the docket, we're talking big news. The biggest news, of course, was AJ Lee making her long-awaited return at 10 years in the making back into the WWE. She appeared on Friday night SmackDown, hinting a matchup at WrestlePalooza. Of course, if you follow the reports, if you follow the streams, you knew that we kind of have an inkling of where they were going with this storyline. But obviously, AJ Lee comes out here Monday Night Raw and wants to reintroduce herself to the fans that maybe have been gone for a decade, or perhaps to the new fans who weren't around back in 2015, giving them a chance to meet AJ Lee for the first time. She introduces herself, of course, by her name, AJ Lee, and talks about how she is, and I love this line, how she is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. You look across the women's division today, and it would be very difficult to not find someone that is taking influence or was inspired, motivated by AJ Lee. You can name a couple people like Roxanne Perez, Lyra Valkyria, Bayley, just to name a few. Liv Morgan. You can see little bits of AJ Lee in all of their characters, in all of their ring move set. So for her to go ahead and acknowledge that with the same bravado, the same charisma, confidence that her husband CM Punk maintains throughout all his promos, it was endearing. I loved hearing AJ Lee's voice for like the first time in 10 years on a WWE television show. Seeing her back in her prime, back in her element, was definitely a welcome sight. She talked about, hey, I was gone for 10 years, and I'm sorry, guys. But she had to go ahead and heal. She had her own mental health journey. She had thought that she had accomplished everything that she could have accomplished in her WWE career. Keep in mind, she was on the main roster for not even 4 years. I mean, she jumped in on the main roster in 2011 and then left in 2015. Of course, she was in NXT for 2010, but we don't talk about that version of NXT. And she talks about how she thought that she accomplished everything in her dreams. You know, she won the Divas Championship. She competed at WrestleMania. She was a part of a main program that was with the likes of Kane, Daniel Bryan, and her now husband CM Punk. Life was good for the WWE superstar AJ Lee. But now, fast forward 10 years, there are so much things to do. She's never competed in a Royal Rumble, in a ladder match, in an Elimination Chamber. She's never won the Women's World Championship, the WWE Women's Championship, the Intercontinental Championship. There are so many things left for her to do. The possibilities are endless. And we know that at WrestlePalooza, it will be AJ Lee, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. The matchup that I think I'm looking forward to the most, just because of the ramifications, just because of what it has meant over the last 10 years for all parties involved. This matchup, I'm hoping, delivers, because the hype for me is at an all-time high. But that's for now. That's what's going on currently. I have to ask the question, what is next for AJ Lee? I know this is the story at hand, but apparently, if you read the reports, and if not, hey, that's why I'm here. I try to help you out, stay up to date with all things pro wrestling. But apparently, the rumors, the speculation is that she has signed a full-time deal. That's huge. AJ Lee does not have to compete full-time. She doesn't have to. She's a best times selling author, something like that. Which, by the way, I just finished the book, Crazy is My Superpower by AJ Lee. It's a good read. Actress, writer, she doesn't have to compete at a full-time basis, but she is. So the question is, who is the dream opponent? I can already see the matches that could be lined up for AJ Lee. First off, of course, you have to talk about Roxanne Perez, the unofficial adoptive daughter of CM Punk and AJ Lee. Roxanne Perez, who has skyrocketed since joining NXT, now into the main roster, providing some of the best matches in NXT and showing a lot of promise on the main roster as a part of the Judgment Day. Roxanne Perez versus AJ Lee. The story's already there. You've seen the pictures. If you haven't seen the pictures, man, Roxanne Perez, as a very young WWE fan, would go to the events, take pictures with AJ Lee, even dress up as AJ Lee for some cosplay or for Halloween or whatever the case may be. The story already writes itself. It could be something similar to what happened with CM Punk. Roxanne Perez could approach AJ Lee saying, you left for 10 years without a trace. You abandoned us. And now here I am on the WWE's main roster, proving that I am the prodigy, proving that I am the best, that I'm next up, and now you want to come back. Now you want to come back to take away my shine. No. The story writes itself. Roxanne Perez versus AJ Lee, that's big money to me, at least. And I feel like a lot of diehard wrestling fans would love to see that. And if people who aren't diehard wrestling fans, or maybe a casual viewer, the story itself, I feel like, is enough to hook them in. Aside from that, I mean, Lyra Valkyria, who has been lighting it up in the last couple of months. I think the matchup there, again, styles make fights, and I feel like that's a good matchup there between the two of them. Nikki Bella, I know some people have their reservations about her, but again, they have history with one another. Back all the way, 2014, when AJ Lee lost her championship to Nikki Bella, and Nikki Bella had beat the record for longest reigning Divas champion, something that was held by AJ Lee. I think the match is there for sure. I would love to see her against Bayley, a fellow NXT alumnus, and revisit that mentor-protege relationship that they had way back when. In AJ Lee's last matchup, all the way back in March of 2015, she wore a Bayley t-shirt, putting over Bayley as the potential one that's next up. And now to see where Bayley's at, that's a great matchup in itself as well. I would love to see that matchup. There's other matchups as well. Of course, we haven't talked about Naomi. The history there all the way back to NXT. I'd love to see her. And call me crazy. I would love to see her versus Nia Jax, just because of the size differential. And I feel like there's a great David versus Goliath type of a story that's there. Maybe keep it brief because I don't think I want to see AJ suffer an injury, but there's a story there. But we talk about Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch makes perfect sense to have a one-on-one matchup, maybe. AJ's the one to dethrone her as the IC champion. I would love to see that. But as of right now, WrestlePalooza, mixed tag, Punk and AJ, Seth and Becky should be a hell of a matchup. Has been a hell of a story thus far. I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat as to what you think about that potential matchup, all the potential matchups when it comes to AJ Lee's latest run in the WWE. But let's go ahead and let's check the chat here. I see Tyler back says a side note on that War Games. So GCW is challenging JCW. Was at the last show, but I think GCW destroyed JCW. A lot of letters, but hey, I love a good War Games matchup. Reese says you see that black eye on Becky, ridiculous. What a shiner by Becky Lynch there, on her face. I love the camera work by Stu there, the cameraman who really zoomed in on the black eye of Becky, and obviously AJ referencing, hey, was that me? Did I do that? A little Steve Urkel reference there. Did I do that? What a shiner. That was a good look. Sanfran's in the chat says the 8 don't even trip. He says the 8K balloon fell. Buddy, come on. Nice try. Try harder. Tyler says breaking news. Matt Riddle's in hot water lately, man. Versus Dijak for the MLW Heavyweight Championship. It's on pay-per-view. 5 days from now on YouTube, I think Dijak is going to be the tag champion and MLW champion too. MLW is another promotion I got to keep up to date, man. Tyler's the one that really holds it down when it comes to it. Muhammad says, no Jackie or Maxine or Ivy Nile tonight. I really hope that Nikki Bella doesn't tap out ever again. I was very surprised that they had Nikki tap out. I thought for sure they were going to protect her and her, her character being that she is, a legend. I was surprised they had her tapped out. I thought for sure it would be some kind of pinfall or maybe by pass out, but then even then I thought that was a stretch. I think we're going to see a little bit of a mean streak from Nikki, a little bit more aggressive side of her, which I think is well needed. I think the days of her being that happy-go-lucky, I'm happy to be here type of a legend appearance, no, cut it. You got to be serious. You got to want this. You got to want to win these matches. You saw what Wade Barrett said. I don't know if you guys saw that, but Wade Barrett over here saying that she's desperate. Not in a bad sense, but in the sense of like, hey, you haven't been here for a minute. You got to prove yourself that you can hang with these young guns. Nikki Bella tapping out, I thought for sure was an interesting choice, though. So we'll see. I'm glad they didn't put her over because I think Asuka definitely should have went over in that matchup. Tyler says that AEW All Out looks like pretty good. It is. It looks like Hangman's going to be facing Kyle Fletcher. Aside from that, we also have the 4-way for the Women's Championship. We have Adam Copeland, Christian Cage reuniting in a tag team matchup. Moxley versus Darby Allin in a coffin match. A lot to look forward to, and I'm glad that they moved up the time slot so it's not directly head-to-head with WrestlePalooza because I would love to watch both shows, and when they go head-to-head, you're making me choose. And 9 times out of 10, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to watch the WWE main roster. The only time I'll probably pick AEW is if they go head-to-head with NXT. For me, the pecking order is NXT, AEW, then WWE's main roster. So we will be checking that out. Tyler asked, did you see what happened to Wardlow? I did. Man, Wardlow can't catch a break, man. This guy was on quite a run all the way back in, 2022? I lose track of the years, but where he was feuding with MJF. And he got that victory over him at Double or Nothing. I thought for sure Wardlow was going to be strapped to the moon and pushed. And he just never got going. The best he was at the TNT Championship, and aside from that, has not been able to get going. So it's devastating to hear about the injury for Wardlow, but it's terrible. Reese brings up Liv Morgan and AJ. That's a great matchup as well that I totally blacked out on because Liv Morgan, as of right now, is injured, but that for sure absolutely would be a great matchup between the two. Again, similar styles. You can kind of see a little bit of influence from AJ to Liv Morgan. Tyler says, I saw Brock Purdy. He is injured already, right? That's a sore spot. That's a sore spot, Tyler. Yes, obviously we know that I'm a big professional wrestling fan. Aside from that, big Bay Area sports fans, Niners, Warriors, Giants. Niners got the victory, a big victory over a division rival in Seattle. And unfortunately, Brandon Ayuk had been sidelined. He won't be back for like another month and a half. Juwan Jennings a little shaken up. George Kittle will be out for a month due to a hammy. Brock Purdy dealing with a shoulder and a toe injury. We got the victory, but at what cost? It's a rocky start for San Francisco. It's still a long way from the playoffs, though. We take it week by week, and I'm just afraid it's going to be a long season. Injuries in the 49ers go together like cookies and milk, I'm afraid. Will the Savage says, hello, Jose. What's going on, buddy? Glad you can join us. Says, I'm excited about the Usos' return. Me too. Jimmy and Jay, two of the greatest in the bloodline, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, making a huge return here to team up against the team of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed at WrestlePalooza. Let me know what you guys think about that matchup at WrestlePalooza. Love the Usos, Jimmy and Jay coming back together. Love seeing brothers come together. And Jay Uso with the progression of his character, something to look for there in the next coming weeks. But aside from that, talking about character progression, Bayley. What are you guys thinking of when you see these Bayley promos? He's coming into a little bit of, internal crisis there, having the two characters on her shoulder, right? The angel and the demon that sits over her shoulder. Obviously, one is in reference to the old hugger gimmick all the way back in NXT in her early days in her WWE career. And then you have the role model, the Bayley that was, had 2 championships during the pandemic era. 2 of the best character works for her, certainly, and I like how they're incorporating them here into this internal conflict that Bayley is enduring within her friendship with Lyra Valkyria. I think the promos, the segments are really well done, really well edited, and you can hear the distinct, voice differential in Bayley's words when she's speaking. You can tell which version of it that is speaking, and I'm curious to see where this leads. I think it's probably going to lead to a heel turn. At the end of this week's promo, she basically said, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to make it right. And that would hint at a babyface result for Bayley, but I just feel like that's a swerve and we're going to see heel Bayley. Love a heel Bayley. I just love Bayley in general. Fellow Niner fan, by the way. Shout out to Bayley. Regardless of where they go with it, I'm here for it. I love the attention to detail when it comes to the silhouettes. Seeing the different hair color, or not hair color, but the hairstyle of Bayley. I'm not one to talk about hairstyles, I know, but still. The next chapter in Bayley's career, I think, is certainly a fascinating one, and she's another one that I would love to see go one-on-one with AJ Lee. There's already a built-in story there, and AJ Lee as the babyface, Bayley as the heel, it just works. It just works really well. Tyler says, I think I'm feeling Wardlow's injury again. It's part of the storytelling or something. I don't think so. I don't think it's a part of a story. Because even then, what was he doing before? He joined up with the Don Callis family, and since then we haven't seen him. He hasn't appeared. I don't think it's part of a story. Jim and Jay just makes more sense. 100% will. 100%. It just feels right. When they were in the ring together, cutting that promo on the Bronsons, it just felt right. The flow of it all, the chemistry between the two, you can tell they were having fun. And when they're having fun, I feel like it translates through the screen, and then we can have fun. So I'm happy to see the Usos back together. Certainly a great direction for them. At the time being, it seems that that's the move we're going with. But someone else that I want to talk about is AJ Styles and the direction of his character. AJ Styles really hasn't been doing much in the WWE like the last couple of years. He has recently, of course, competed for the Intercontinental Championship against Dominic Mysterio. I don't feel like that storyline is just quite done. Obviously, he's feuding with El Grande Americano, found a new friend in Dragon Lee. People are saying AJ and Dragon Lee morphed together. AJ Lee. I thought that was pretty funny. But AJ Styles, one of the greatest of all time. The face of total nonstop action and the face of a generation. You cannot praise him enough. He truly is phenomenal. I don't want to see the last couple of years of AJ being wasted away in the mid card. To think that the last time he held the WWE Championship was way back in, 2018? Wow. Think about how different it was in 2018. I don't want to see it wasted away. I don't want to see him stuck in these mid-card feuds. I think he's against, don't get me wrong, capable talent, but it should be on top of the card. He's the phenomenal one. And if we don't have a place for AJ Styles, what are we doing? The promo he had cut in between commercials was certainly an interesting one. People are calling it his own pipe bomb. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a pipe bomb, but AJ basically saying how there's nobody there to, watch his back anymore. No Gallows, no Anderson, no Meechin. He's on his own. And he says he feels like someone's out there just trying to get him, if anything. They're trying to prevent him from accomplishing his goals, winning championships. He feels like he's not wanted there, like somebody doesn't want him there. I don't know what they're going with. I don't know what the angle here is. I would love to see AJ on top of the world again, even if that means being a heel. I don't think they're going to turn him heel, but there were a little bit of hints of resentment there, a little aggression in the tone of his voice. I can just hope that they put him in the best position possible, having great matches against other great talent, having meaningful segments on TV to allow people to connect with him and have him send off whenever it is he decides to retire. I was thinking about this as a casual perspective, obviously for you and I, who keep up with the product, who keep up with AJ Styles and his career. We know he's the phenomenal one. We know he's one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of boots. But for the casual fan, I feel like it almost gets lost in translation. Like with Finn Balor. Do people actually know, the casual fan that is, do people actually know how great these guys are? How fantastic they are at their craft? How at one point they were the pinnacle of pro wrestling? Because it just feels like nowadays, creative, not going to name names, Triple H, but creative almost has lost sight of that. Finn Balor and AJ should be competing for the World Championship week in and week out, not being relegated to the mid-card. But that's just my 2 cents. Let's go back here. Tyler says, I think that WWE pay-per-views look like better than last WWE pay-per-views. I think AEW All Out have a great show. I hope they both of them quality pay-per-view and everything. I think Clash in Paris had a better feel to it. Certainly the stage looked great, but we'd have to wait. Being that WrestlePalooza is going to be the first ever pay-per-view on the ESPN app, I'm thinking they're going to go all out. No pun intended. The matchups that are currently listed certainly suggest that when you have Brock Lesnar, John Cena, AJ Lee, CM Punk, Seth and Becky, the Usos coming back, presumably Cody defending the championship, but we'll have to wait and see when Cody comes back. They are really going for it here. Not only for the first ever pay-per-view on ESPN, but as a head-to-head, unofficially head-to-head, show against All Out. I mean, I'm sure both will deliver. I think WWE will deliver in terms of the spectacle. AEW, though, when it comes to pay-per-view, their match quality is consistent. They're always consistent. They're always really good. Sanford says, I need to tell you something in person. Well, buddy, the door's open. Come on in. Will the Savage says, plus for you, the Usos are 2 Bay Area natives. Damn right. And fellow Niner fans. We love it. We love the bloodline because they love the Niners. And they're pretty good. Tyler says, Kyle Fletcher versus Hangman Page at AEW All Out. I think it's a banger matchup. Ooh, that's going to be a banger of a matchup for sure. Can't wait for that. That should be a great matchup here. We got someone joining us here. What's going on?
Come over here, bud. I gotta whisper at you. I'm not ribbing you.
Really? Well, that's fantastic.
I gotta go shower.
That's fantastic.
What's up, guys?
Sanfran in the stream here. Hey, this is a pro wrestling channel, but if you're a fan of professional football, NFL, like we've been talking about here on and off, if you're a Niner fan, like us, first of all, bless you. But apparently the Niners are looking at kickers. Thank goodness, because our kicker, Jake Moody's not it. If you want more of an in-depth opinion on the Niners, we can get to that. Or you can follow me on TikTok at jareapod_ for more of my insight on everything in the world, basically. Quick plug to the socials. Muhammad says, is that actually and really true that Punk and AJ Styles made up? I don't know. Batista was already getting small, unlike The Rock. Well, I don't know about Batista. Well, Batista and The Rock, I feel like were both similar situations where they wanted to tackle more versatile roles. No longer action stars, but more centered in drama, more centered in maybe the award season. The Smashing Machine, I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to watch that. They're saying it's The Rock's best film to date. I'm looking forward to it. Will says, is Survivor Series on Peacock? No, as far as I know, if you're outside of North America, Survivor Series will be on Netflix. However, in North America, it will be on the ESPN app. Moving forward, the WWE's main roster, meaning Raw and SmackDown, their live events, their premium live events, will only be on ESPN. As far as I know, the NXT brand, the NXT premium live events, will still be on Peacock. So essentially, if you want to keep up with everything WWE, you need Netflix, you need Peacock, you need the ESPN app, and you need access to the USA Network to keep up with all the shows. Lucky for us, I have that, and that's how I intend on keeping you guys up to date with everything pro wrestling. Mama Ramos in the chat says, about time, God knows we need a kicker. It's true. It's true. And I'm hoping they move forward with it. Sorry, Jake Moody, you had your shot. You blew it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. After 15 times, it just got old. Sorry. Sorry, but not sorry. Bye. Bye, Jake Moody. Watch. And the next team he goes to, he's going to be great. Probably. Tyler says, I'm calling it now. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage was FTR equals main event for All Out. I'm down for that. I mean, it is going to be in Canada. I wouldn't be surprised if it was still Hangman. But I don't hate the prediction, Tyler. I think that's a great call. I'm down for it. Excuse me, what happened to the belt next to my name? Apparently, you're not a member anymore. Either maybe you, did you cancel? That's a possibility. Everyone knows that if you are a Main Event Mafia member, you will have your name highlighted and have a championship title next to your name, signifying how long you've been a member here on YouTube. I might have to help you out with that after the stream. The Dude B, I did not. I did not. A lot to talk about here. One of the last things, the last major points I wanted to talk about here on stream. Please continue to drop in your comments, drop in your questions in the chat. We'll get to each of them as we go along for the last 15 minutes of the stream. But the last big thing I wanted to talk about here was Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio this upcoming weekend, Friday to be exact, at AAA in WWE When Worlds Collide, will be challenging El Hijo del Vikingo for the AAA Mega Championship. It has been well documented the tension between El Hijo del Vikingo and the AAA audience. For those who aren't aware, there's a lot of heat there because he dethroned Alberto El Patron, better known as Alberto Del Rio. People have been clamoring for someone new to dethrone Vikingo. I'm telling you right now, it should be Dominic. It absolutely should be Dominic. He is so over, not only here in the States, but in Mexico. When you watch some of these AAA shows, hearing the crowd actually chant Dominic, Dominic is surreal. Because even when he was with his father, Ray, as a tag team back in 2022, I don't feel like they were cheering for him. They were cheering for his dad, and by virtue, by association, for him. They have to pull the trigger. People are fed up with Vikingo. To see Dominic as a 2-time champion, a double champion rather, Intercontinental, and the AAA Mega Championship. I mean, we thought they were going to pull that trigger at Triple Mania, and they didn't. Maybe for the best. But being that this show was going to be another chapter in the partnership, not even partnership, they own AAA rather. It would make sense. I think it would have made sense to have him win in Mexico because the crowd was so firmly behind him. Now he's going to be in Vegas for the show. I don't know how they're going to perceive him. Are they going to cheer for Vikingo because they're in North America and they're going to boo Dominic? Or are they going to recognize that it's Dominic's time? The strides that he has made in his career to where he was to where he is now cannot be denied. On the mic, in the ring, in character, Dominic is money. He's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, in the ring he could still be better. I'm not saying he's the greatest, luchador ever, but I think he's on his way to being pretty damn good. I say pull the trigger, and let's see him run with it. What's it gonna hurt? Maybe that's just me being biased. I would love to see Dominic win. Send him to the moon. Push him. But we'll have to wait and see. That's Friday. That'll be on Friday for When Worlds Collide. AAA, WWE. Will says, wow, bro, I'm getting really pissed with the TKO making this whole thing a luxury. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I understand it is a business, but at the end of the day, it's like you want to make it at least appealing to the consumer. And you can clearly tell, ever since TKO took over, it's very, very much focused and centered on business. They got me. They got me. Muhammad says Vic Joseph is working for Monday Night Raw. Mackenzie Mitchell is so gorgeous. Gee, Muhammad thirsting over. Hey, don't get me wrong. Mackenzie Mitchell is great. But mad respect to my boy Vic Joseph. I love Vic Joseph. Who do you think will take the strap from Oba Femi? I honestly thought it was going to be Javon Evans. I really did, but he clearly lost at the last event, Heat Wave. I think it could be Ricky. Who else is left? There's no one else that's credible to beat him. I think Ricky's going to be the guy. That's at No Mercy later in the month. But I think it's going to be Ricky. I think WWE runs UFC business model in 5 years. You're probably not wrong. Is the Usos heel? I missed Raw again. No, Dion. No, the Usos are still baby faces. At least for the time being. Jey Uso has a little bit of tension with LA Knight. But I don't believe there's any indication that the Usos are heels. No worries. I think Dom, he's improved on everything. Absolutely. No, dude B, I haven't kept up with that. But yeah, Dominic Mysterio. Great. He's great. As we begin to unwind, we still have 10 minutes here on the stream, but I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions. Throw in some comments in the chat below, of course. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you can take part in the streams as well as keep up to date with all the pro wrestling that we talk about here on YouTube. Make sure you have your notification bells on. That way you also are notified for when we go live or for when we upload a video or a short. Make sure to also follow us on our social sites on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at JAreaPod_. That's at JAreaPod_. You can find us on all three where I upload regularly now. We're getting a little bit active on social media, trying to bring in more viewers here onto YouTube and expand the J area into an even bigger area than thought before. The next time that we go live, we'll have to keep you up to date with that. Thursday is typically when we go live. As of right now, I think I won't be going live for personal reasons, but I will keep you up to date for when we go. We might just end up moving it to another day just for the week, but just keep your eye on that. I'll post in the comments and I'll post in the community tab as well. I want to give a quick plug to San Fran. San Fran will be going live Tuesday morning. That's at 9 a.m. on the West Coast. I'm not good at converting the time zones, but that's 9 a.m. on the West Coast. You can check out his channel. It's San Fran 5. He'll be doing his live stream tomorrow, Tuesday morning. If you enjoy his content, he does do video games. He does do pro wrestling as well, but more so gameplay. If you're into that, hey, give him a follow, give him a subscribe, check him out as well. Gabs says, Jose, my belt is gone too. That's weird. I gotta look into that. That's 2 already. That's interesting. Because I haven't messed with anything in the settings. I'm actually gonna look at it. You guys are gonna get like a live look at me checking it out. Do I think Dom will leave the Judgment Day? Yes. Eventually. That is weird, because right now it only says there's 2 members. Everyone else is gone, and I didn't mess with the That's weird. I don't know why it's down to 2. At least AEW is more affordable prices on tickets, and their cheap tickets are $35. WWE's cheap tickets are $80. Low key, I'm not a big fan of. Yeah, that's why we haven't gone to the shows in a while, because the tickets are just getting out of hand. I'm not sure. I see some people in the chat were saying that their names are no longer highlighted as a member of the channel, nor having the championship. I don't know why that is. Sometimes YouTube will announce something, some kind of technical difficulty that may affect the channel, but I'm not seeing anything. I don't even see the option to join again. That's something I gotta look into. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, I don't know why it's weird. That's something I'm gonna have to do after the stream. Hopefully, we'll be able to have that up by tomorrow. Um, as soon as I go offline, I'm gonna check into that and look why that is the case, because that is weird. It doesn't show me any indication that was done on our end, and it just says that there were cancellations. That's a good amount of cancellations too within the last month. So again, and to say that it's not giving you the option to join again, that is very weird. I'm your number 1 supporter. I can't not have a belt. I appreciate that, Gabs. Gabs is definitely one of the MVPs here on the channel as well. Has been a big supporter of everything that we've done here since day 1. It feels like. I know for a fact though, when it goes back up and you are able to rejoin, it should keep your championship, because in the past I've had gifted memberships to people, again, not by choice. I don't want to sound like I'm favoring people, but gifting people who have been members in the past, and it picked back up where they were with the championship. As a matter of fact, we are in the first initial days of the month, so we're able to gift some memberships here. So let's see if that'll do anything. We're gifting away 5 memberships here to the channel. So here we have Nolan, Erica, Sir Robert, Gianna Forever, and Josh, all a part of the Main Event Mafia, joining in on exclusive content like posts, polls, and the exclusive videos I recently just did. As a matter of fact, we're going to go for another 5. We'll just do all 10 right now. But I just did a video focusing on the triple threat match at TNA Unbreakable. It was AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels. If you are into TNA, if you're into pro wrestling as much as I am, check that out if you are a member. If you're not a member, consider becoming one. As soon as we figure out what's going on with... Yeah! There we go. With the memberships. Again, YouTube is able to give me 10 free memberships. So we're going to send out another 5 here to round out the 10. Dion, Will the Savage. Yeah! Salvi, that's a name I haven't seen in a bit. Julian and Tyler all receiving gift memberships. Again, I don't do them personally myself. This is YouTube just picking out names. Those are our latest members of the Main Event Mafia. Again, gaining access to exclusive polls, posts, and videos here on YouTube. For those who were members and all of a sudden are no longer members, I have to look into that as to why it's not giving you the option to either join or if it just canceled it altogether. So that is certainly something that we're going to look into. I value your guys' your support, and for those who do deem it necessary to become members of the channel, I want to be able to provide more content for you guys. It's just a matter of figuring out what can I do, what can I provide, what is something of interest to you, and I hold that with you guys. I want to hear from you guys on your input as to what you would like to see more on the channel. We're continuing to grow. Shout out to Will. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. But I want to continue to grow this channel. We've been doing so these last couple of months. We were at 3,000. We're now approaching 9,000 with the goal being 10,000 by the end of 2025. We're going to start bringing this stream to a close, mostly because I want to jump in and see what I can do about the membership issue here. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment. You guys know the gimmicks. Subscribe to follow all things pro wrestling, to follow all things J Area Wrestling, and consider joining us on our social media sites. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at JAreaPod_. That's at JAreaPod_, where we've been more active on all three, trying to gain as much traction as we can for the channel, allowing it to grow even bigger. Muhammad says, please don't go yet. Buddy, can shoot some questions here, buddy. Go ahead. We'll go a little longer. But I do actually want to see what I can do about that membership. I think that's really weird. Did I see your message or question? I'm going back. When will Maxine and Ivy Nile and Jackie Redmond come back? I don't know. Jackie Redmond, I'm guessing, was on assignment. I'm sure she'll be back next week. As for Maxine and Ivy Nile, they're probably stuck on main event. Saraya and Mandy Rose, I don't know. Paige maybe would come back. I don't know about Mandy Rose. Will the Savages, oh wait, may you please respond? Yeah, absolutely. I see Will the Savage. I appreciate you, buddy. I don't think I think I caught up to everybody. Oh, I see Will. I missed yours. Bro, my favorite AEW wrestler on the heel side is Killswitch, and my favorite face is Will Ospreay. Really? Ty Conti's your favorite? I love Toni Storm. I think she's great. I also am a big fan of Mercedes. I think those two are the standard bearers of their women's division. For my favorite face, I agree with you. Will Ospreay is probably my favorite. Swerve is right there. Hangman is right there. As for the heels, I mean, MJF is a classic. I don't know how you couldn't like MJF as a natural heel. I'm growing for Kyle Fletcher. He's definitely growing in my opinion. Because I am part of Brazilian, and that is why I like Ty. Oh, right on. Didn't know that. Representation, we love that. Ty's cool. I remember watching her back in NXT. Who remembers that, when she was back in NXT, and then I remember she made the jump to AEW. But right on. Congrats to her and Sammy as well for having their child. If you see me start to become a little quiet, I'm trying to look into the memberships and see what's going on there. But for those in the chat, again, please feel free to drop in some comments, drop in some questions there. I remember that the Undisputed Era line. Oh yeah, I do remember Undisputed Era and her. Oh man, what a callback! For a minute there, it seemed like they were gonna be a thing, like she was gonna be a new member. So I'm looking at. I don't know why for some of the, not even some of them, for the majority of the members of the main event mafia, why it kicked you guys or canceled your memberships. But I'm going into it and it gives me the option to join. Both on my desktop, my laptop, I don't know why I called it that, my laptop, and I'm looking on my phone if it allows me the opportunity to do so on my phone as well. Yeah, on my phone as well. It still allows me to join. But I don't know why. I'm not sure why it got rid of you guys. Paused as of September 4th. And the thing is too, I didn't do anything different. On September 4th, that was a Thursday. We went live. That was it. I haven't messed with the settings on the memberships. I don't know. Again, as for those who it has affected, I'm hoping to have an answer for you guys in the next 24 hours. I'm gonna check with Mama Ramos and see what's going on there, and maybe through there, I'm able to figure that out and have an answer for you guys. Keep your eyes on the community tab. I'll upload to there. Also, make sure to put your notification bell on. That way, you're notified of when we go live and when we have these type of updates. I appreciate you guys joining. I'll answer the last couple of questions here, and then we're gonna sign off. Will the Savages? I feel old now that I've been watching the WWE for 6 years, and now I'm just getting into AEW. So this is my second month watching AEW. That is wild for you to say that you feel old now, because I've been watching AEW since 2019 when it first started. I've been watching the WWE since the year 2000 when your boy was still in Pampers. Maybe. I had to double check with my parents if I was wearing Pampers then. But the fact is, I've been watching it for 25 plus years. So for you to say you feel old after watching it for 6 years, what does that make me? Father time over here? But still, glad to have you. Glad to have you join the J Area and join the movement that is the J Area, as well as the newly membership to Main Event Mafia. Well, I appreciate you, just as I appreciate all of you for spending your night here with us on YouTube, on live, talking pro wrestling. I sound like a broken record, but it wouldn't be possible without the support of all you guys. We're gonna look into the Main Event Mafia membership as to why that has happened, and we'll go from there and see. Sorry for the inconvenience there, but again, we're gonna look into that and try to figure that out for you guys. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, stay up to date with all things pro wrestling. Make sure you keep the community tab open. That way you are notified when we go live next. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for joining us. All love and appreciation. I can't wait to see you guys next. I can't wait to talk about wrestling again. This has become my safe place, my safe haven, where I can just talk shop with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I do, because Lord knows that I do. I hope you all have a great night. Hope you all have a great week. Hope you enjoy the week of wrestling. With that being said, take care, be safe. All love, guys. Appreciate you.